Hello, it's Maria. I'm a reporter here with WDW Magazine, here to take you on another magical escape. I am coming to you today from a very windy causeway between the Swan and Dolphin resorts, where we have been invited to preview the 2024 Food and Wine Classic. Thank you to the Swan and Dolphin for inviting us out to preview the 2024 Food and Wine Classic. So without further ado, I'm going to check out all of the offerings that they have here for us on preview. So the Food and Wine Classic is returning for its 15th year, right out here to the causeway between the Swan and Dolphin resorts. I had the privilege of attending this event last year, and I can tell you the way that this preview is set up, with all of the different booths set up along the causeway, with each of the little portions set ready for you to take and enjoy, is exactly how the event takes place each and every year. And the better part is it takes place at night. This preview's during the day, and all of the lights and the energy, they have a live band here, live music all the time, really sets it apart when the night falls here, and it's also not as warm. So really great setting for the event out here on the causeway. And I have officially gotten my first round of the preview food items to taste here today. So I'm gonna do the food in a couple different batches, but let's go through round one and talk about what I got so far. I'm gonna start off with the vegetarian galette slider, and I wanna point out that this year is very different as opposed to previous years that I've attended, with the vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-friendly offerings here. Most of the items that are on preview here today can be made vegetarian or vegan by simply asking, and all of the gluten-friendly items are listed as well. So there seems to be a lot more options this year for those that have dietary restrictions that I just mentioned. So that being said, this vegetarian galette slider, this is a pressed cake that they have used of zucchini and carrot to get this burger texture, and they really nailed the texture on this one. I'm very impressed for a fully made of vegetable patty that it is as chewy and dense and is actually crispy on the outside like a burger char would get. The flavors are really good as well. There's almost a smokiness to it that really brings it all together, and I really like the tomato chutney that is on there too to add an extra burst of flavor, but the texture really is what is blowing me away on this one overall. There are going to be over 170 different wine, beer, and cocktails available at this year's Classic. Here's just a preview of some of the different brews that you'll find here and some of the different wines that will be available out here on the causeway during the Food and Wine Classic this year. Let's talk about this potato dumpling. There's a look at the inside of it. It's really giving me potato pancake vibes without as much of the heavy fry. A lot of time potato pancakes can be really heavily fried and very greasy. This is not that at all, and you can see in there that there are some spices that you can see. There we go. Inside there, it is really chewy and nice and crispy on the outside. And it comes with a smoked onion dip that has crispy bacon. And that is where you will get the textural contrast from the crispy potato dumpling that can maybe be a little bit dry without it. Dunk it in that dip, and that really texturally contrasts super well together with this dish. The Korean no mayo salad. I want to talk a little bit about this dish before I say how much I enjoyed it. Spoiler alert. This is a dish that was actually created by someone who worked here at the Swan and Dolphin. He was one of the chefs on the team, and this was a item that he grew up having at home. They put it on the menu here, and for very good reason. It is a no mayo Korean salad. It's vegetarian friendly. There's all kind of vegetables in here, and the sauce that they have created is definitely a soy-based sauce, but the flavor profile of garlic that's coming through it, onion that's coming through it, is very unique, and it is an approachable item. It's not spicy, it's not hot, but really does capture those Korean flavors really well, and I love that it has a little backstory to it too. My friends at Il Molino are usually always one of my favorite booths, and they did not disappoint this year. This year, they are featuring the important Italian ricotta cheese-filled engranati, and I could eat 7 of these, which that's the good thing about the Food and Wine Classic. If I want to, you could eat 7 of one thing if you really like it. But these are fantastic. They're little pasta purses that they have filled with a super duper rich lemon and cheese-filled center. The olive oil that is on it paired with the Romano cheese gives it a really nice bite to the dish, and the Romano cheese gives it a bit of a chew because the little individual engranati are so small and so soft that the cheese, the Romano cheese that's shaved over it, gives it a nice bite and a nice saltiness to go with it. These are fabulous, and I definitely think I'm gonna go back for seconds on that one. And finally, the congee. This is a slow-cooked rice porridge that can come with shrimp, or like I said, you can modify a lot of these items this year, which I love, to be vegetarian, and you can get it without the shrimp. You can also modify this one to be very spicy. I got the spicy or not at all spicy. The spice, in my opinion, is what makes this dish, because the slow-cooked rice porridge is what you think it is. It is that rice porridgey texture, but then they add the chili spice sauce to it, and it really ups the entire thing flavor-wise, in my opinion. They also had some potato chips on it that gave it a really nice crunch, and this was a very unique and different dish. And so far at this year's preview, I am pairing everything with a Chardonnay. It is a dry white wine. I wanted a dry wine to make sure that I could still taste the flavors of everything else that I am enjoying. And here's a little look at the glass and what the glass will look like. This you will take along with you as you go through the Food and Wine Classic. Like I said, I've been in years past. You get your glass, you take your glass with you, and they will actually refill this glass with the different wines as you move from booth to booth. So if you come, don't get rid of your glass after the first booth. You're gonna want it for the whole rest of the evening. Cheers. All right, I am here with Chef Dan here at Swan and Dolphin. I'm Maria with WDW Magazine, Chef Dan, and I have a couple questions. Hi, I'd love to ask you.
All right.
So my first question is, I know you create all of these new dishes every year for the Food and Wine Classic. What is the trial and error process like when you create a new dish?
You know what? We come up with an idea, and then obviously before we let anybody try it, we go through the process of trying it. And so many of these dishes, you're looking at 4th, 5th, 6th incarnation. So
oh, wow.
It needs more acid, it needs more salt. It's a horrible idea to begin with. Let's just scrap it and move on. So yeah, that's sort of the process. It's lengthy at times, and other times everything just comes together pretty easily. So it's 50-50 shot.
Nice, okay, thank you. And I know that all of these restaurants you tend to oversee, so what, between the Swan, Dolphin, Swan Reserve, what are a couple of your favorite menu items if you're coming to the restaurants that you would always order?
Wow. Well, I mean, sushi and kimonos is always good. And what do I order when I'm in kimonos? Believe it or not, the kimchi soup in kimonos is absolutely amazing.
I've never had it, I'll have to try it.
So yes, it's absolutely delicious. It's one of my favorites. And then anything with raw tuna is always good. Shula's, at the end of the day, I'm just a good old boy from Virginia, so I love steak. So that's always good. And Il Molino, I always get the veal Milanese with a side of spaghetti with red sauce, extra lemon, every single time. So,
all right.
Those are three of my favorites.
Dan's favorites. Thank you so much, Chef Dan. I appreciate the time.
You're welcome.
Thanks. All right, I've got my second round of food before I move on to the desserts. Let's start with the smoked handcrafted bacon. This is a thick cut of bacon. For like a tasting portion, this is really, really a good size. And it's crispy on the outside, but when you put your fork into it, man, is that tender bacon. There is a crispy layer to it. It is tender, but it also has a good amount of fat. So it has something for everyone who likes meat in it, and it is just a really smoke-forward flavor in that dish. So well done there on the bacon. And I also had to try the creamy chipotle macaroni and cheese. This is another one of the dishes that you could get vegetarian or not. So I decided to ask for it vegetarian to see what that was all about. And all they did for that was they left off the smoked ham that was on it. Everything else was the same. And the cheese sauce itself was very thick and very creamy and tasted just like a traditional mac and cheese sauce at first. But then after you swallowed it, the chipotle flavor did come through. Not at all in an overpowering or off-putting way. It still tasted like a mac and cheese dish. The noodles were creamy. I liked the choice of the rotini noodles that they used because the sauce really did get all up in those little curls of the noodles. I thought that was a great pasta choice. And overall, this is an approachable dish, but one that has a little bit of an unexpected twist at the end with the chipotle flavor. The desserts. There are so many different desserts to get to here today. I enjoyed every one of them. They're doing a fantastic job on these desserts. Every dessert here that we're seeing here today at the preview is brand new to this year's Food and Wine Classic. They've never had any of them in years past, which is exciting. Something new, and in this case, a lot of things that are new. So my favorites, I'm going to start with the ones that I'm going to start off just in any random order because they were all really, really tasty. So the coconut tapioca mango mousse was tasty. That was a really light and refreshing one, as was the fresh strawberry with the burnt miso tartlet. This tasted like almost like a strawberries and cream traditional British dessert that you would get. Very fresh flavors on that. Fresh cut strawberries, light cream, and the crust on this one was also very light too. So those were both very light desserts, as was the mandarin cream beignet. The beignet was a little tiny puff beignet, really fried well with cinnamon sugar on the outside, and it had a little bit of mandarin cream in the center of it to give it a textural contrast, but again, still a very light dessert overall. Moving on to the caramel banana creme brulee. This one kind of came with the show. They did the little torch on it for us to make that top crisp. It was almost a made to order flame on the top there, and I cracked into that, and it did give a nice traditional creme brulee crack. The thing that was nice and unexpected about this creme brulee is it didn't sit really heavy. A lot of times creme brulees are tough to get through. They're very thick. This was not the case. This was a light creme brulee, and if you are someone who likes bananas, the banana flavor was very prominent in this dessert. I, though, am a chocolate girl at heart, and the two that I love the best were the chocolate blackberry show poof. That shocked me. That was a really nice outside to that poof shell. It was crispy. The center of it gave way to a really nice berry center to it. It was a rich berry center to it, and the chocolate and berry combination is obviously a classic and went really nicely together in this little bite. And I also really liked the nougat rum dark chocolate mousse. That was a little dome, and it had great layers when I cut into that. That was kind of just chocolate overload. I didn't get a ton of nougat from it. I really didn't taste a rum flavor either. All I tasted was a dark chocolate that gave way to a darker chocolate that gave way to a milkier chocolate in the center, and as someone who absolutely loves chocolate, that was a really big highlight for me here in the dessert. So I love the desserts. I love that they're each individual little bites, easy to walk and eat, which is the point here at the Food and Wine Classic, and I thought that they were all really well done and beautifully presented on all of the desserts. And that is going to do it for me here today at the 2024 media preview for the Food and Wine Classic. Thank you again to the Swan and Dolphin for inviting us out today to preview the Food and Wine Classic. And a reminder that this and all of our videos are brought to you by WDW Magazine. Link is in the video description to subscribe. Thanks for following along today. My name is Maria, and I will see you in the next magical escape. Cheers.
Are you even a true Disney fan if you don't have a WDW Magazine subscription? Don't just fly. Soar over to our website and subscribe to our award-winning Disney magazine.